All right, what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to another extra SROS video. Today, I want to talk about the Miami Heat. We're on kind of a streak here, just talking about positive things in the Eastern Conference. Maybe it's just because the East has been a little bit more competitive than maybe we would have thought, and it's not all the teams we expected going into the year. We've talked about the Detroit Pistons, their meteoric rise this year. They just won again in a thriller against the Washington Wizards. We've talked about the New York Knicks. We've talked about the Chicago Bulls and their hot start. I got to talk about the Miami Heat and what they have been doing so far here in the 2026 NBA season, because this team has been so much fun to watch. And I don't know if I need to give more credit to Eric Spoelstra. I probably do, because I mean, I already gave him enough credit. I give him as much credit as possible. I do think he's still the best head coach in the NBA. Definitely like when Pop was getting towards the end of it, and the Spurs really weren't like as competitive, so we couldn't see like Pop in a playoff series anymore. Spoelstra has been the best coach in my opinion for a while now. So the Heat are off to a 7-4 start. They just beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in an absolute thriller. It was 140-130 in overtime. That kind of sparked me for wanting to do my video today on them, because they were without Bam Adebayo and Tower Hero in this one. Like, Eric Spoelstra is getting so much out of this bench, and we have raved about like the Chicago Bulls bench unit this year, and they are deeper than we thought. I think it's the same with the Miami Heat, because everybody's kind of stepping up on this roster this season, which is now maybe elevating them a little bit going forward. I'm going to be fascinated to see what they look like when Tower Hero returns, because he's still out with that ankle injury. There's a report that he's ahead of schedule and he expects to be back in 8 to 12 weeks, which came out basically at the end of September. So 2 months, end of September, he's out probably all of November. Hopefully he's back before like January 1st, before the new year. And Bam is currently out with a foot injury. He left a game early a couple games ago. I forget if it was against like Denver. It was against one of those teams. He left early with the ankle injury. Maybe it was Charlotte or Portland. But Miami has been great on both sides of the ball. You expected them to be good defensively this year. It's kind of what the Heat culture has been. Spo has preached in the past. They are 6th so far this year in terms of defensive rating. They are 7th in net rating. They are 10th in offensive rating. And I think that's what impressed me so much about this team this year, is because they are running so much like isolation ball this year and barely any pick and roll. You probably heard somebody talk about that this year, how they're just barely running any pick and roll, which has been the bread and butter of the modern NBA. And they're letting their guys just kind of space the floor and get downhill and attack the rim, and not really getting too many switches on the perimeter. And it's just like everybody's kind of stepped up from this team. Like, I can run through it. I think the best guy on the Miami Heat this year 100% has to be Norman Powell, who the Miami Heat got for free in the offseason. It was Kevin Love, it was Kyle Anderson, some seconds. I mean, it benefited them that Collins lost all his trade value basically in the last year of his deal, because nobody was paying a premier asset to get John Collins from the Jazz at $25 million on an expiring contract. They wanted to see more from their young guys going forward. So the Clippers trade for John Collins. They had their own financial restraints. So in order to get John Collins, they had to trade a matching salary, which ended up being Norman Powell. I wonder in hindsight if they were able to do some type of Bogdan Bogdanovic trade. And then the Heat are like, we'll take Norman Powell. We'll have the risk of maybe extending him or not getting him for anything in the offseason. Norman Powell has kind of saved the Miami, not saved the Miami Heat this year, but man, what an absolute steal pickup. Maybe Pat Riley still has his fastball. I don't know if it was him making this decision. But Norman Powell this year has been a little bit banged up at times, but he's shooting 46% from the field, 45% from 3 on 6 attempts a night. He's averaging 24.5 points. Norman Powell, in like the increase in workload last year with the Clippers, when Kawhi Leonard was hurt and no more Paul George, he stepped up. He was in the most improved talks all year long. He ended up not playing enough games towards the end of the year. But this season, Norman Powell in 31 minutes a night has been a true 3-level scorer for the Miami Heat. Like, they just took on the Cavs, a game in which, I don't know if I can quickly find like what the spread was going into this game. I think I can. 7.5. They were 7.5 point underdogs at home in this one, which makes sense. Cleveland is getting fully healthy. Garland's back. All their top guys played outside of Max Strus basically in this one. And they've been good this year, the Cavs. Miami is without Bam Adebayo and Tower Hero. Most people would objectively say they're two best players in a vacuum so far this year, or like in general going into the year, those were the two best guys. And they got 23 out of Andrew Wiggins, who was attacking the rim, and honestly has just been a really good role player for this team, and better than a role player. Maybe that's a little disrespectful to Andrew Wiggins. Like, he was the headliner in the Jimmy Butler trade, and he is looking great for them so far this year. Khalil Ware, here's 20 rebounds up against Jared Allen and Evan Mobley with no Bam Adebayo. Now it's making it look like a great pick, because when they selected Khalil Ware on the night of the 2024 draft, I was like, you know, like, should they prioritize a backup big here? Can Khalil Ware space the floor? Will there be a defensive motor issue here? there's been some issues at times, but Kalaware has exceeded expectations, in my opinion, because he could be a backup 5, he could play out there in the front court with Bam, and he could also be your starting center in a pinch and be a good one at that for somebody that's a sophomore. Pele Larson has closed games out this year for the Miami Heat. He's been a good connecting piece. Davion Mitchell, 8 assists, turned the ball over a little bit, had some bad fouls, but somebody that you could definitely be fine with getting 30 minutes a night too, who's going to play less when Hero's back. Is at this point, I don't know how you bench Hero, or sorry, you're not going to bench Hero. I don't know how you bench Norman Powell, so maybe it's going to be like Hero at the 1, Powell at the 2, but Simone Fontecchio, who they got in the sign and trade with Duncan Robinson, has been good this year. This has been a great return and a nice, like, damaged goods player they got in that trade. Fontecchio had no value. They basically had to make the money work in the offseason, and Miami's like, yeah, we think we can get something out of Fontecchio. We like what he did in, like, that 8-game sample size with the Pistons in 2024, so they take a flyer on him. He's been great. He's been a good slasher, cutter, finisher around the rim this year. Jaime Jaquez has been also, like, another revelation this season. I was out on Jaime Jaquez going into the year. I mean, I was like, he's not going to be what he was in his rookie year. You know, the older prospects, they come in, winning teams, like the Dalton Connect effect, the Chris Duarte effect, those guys, right? Like, they're older, they don't have a lot of room to grow, and they're pretty much at their ceiling. So they're going to impress you right away because they're a rookie, but then they're not going to get much better from their rookie season. Jaquez went down last year in year number 2. This guy is in most improved conversations this year, and I think has done that. So he like this is the stuff you don't know when you're making all these predictions. Like, I believe was like with a meditation coach in the offseason. He was working on his patience. He hasn't really been great as a shooter whatsoever, and I think that's always going to hold him back. Inconsistent 3-point shot, 21% from 3, but the guy's shooting about 64% at the rim this year. Jaime Jaquez has been fantastic as a downhill driver in transition and somebody you could trust with the ball in your hands in half court when you're working these isolation, because now if Bam gets a step on somebody, or Norman Powell or Wiggins, they're going to close out double team. Jaime Jaquez does a great job finding the open space on the floor without the ball in his hands. So he has been great this year. And heck, even like Drew Smith, who either tore his ACL or his Achilles like last year in preseason. Dude, this is like the Heat culture guy. He's going to have like a playoff moment or something this year, an NBA Cup moment, and everyone's going to be like, yep, this is the next Hayward Highsmith. This is the next guy coming out of nowhere, but next Kendrick Nunn or something, right? He went to Evansville and Missouri. He's 27 years old. He has played for the Heat and the Nets before, like 2023, the Heat trade for him. Or did he get traded from the Heat to the Nets? He got signed. Okay, no, I think he just ended up getting waived by the Brooklyn Nets or something like that. Yeah, he's been all over the place. All over the place. He's been signed by the Nets on a 2-way and then got scooped up by the Miami Heat. Yeah, this guy, like, just a gamer, man, is going to do everything he can defensively. He's been knocking down his threes this year, and he's a nice player in transition as well. For like 8 minutes a night, yeah, I'll take that. And he actually played like 15 for them against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Heat have been like really good in terms of just being super efficient. They're 4th in points per play this year. Points per possession, they're ranked 10th in the NBA as well. They're also 5th in points per possession allowed this year as well. And they're basically 1st in the NBA in points per play allowed, better than Detroit, OKC, San Antonio, some of the better defenses this year. And I think it just comes down on Eric Spoelstra. Like, this guy is just getting the most out of his team, and I believe Spoelstra is now coaching Team USA for the next Olympics. Steve Kerr kind of passed the baton over to Eric Spoelstra, and I don't think there's anybody better out there than Coach Spo right now. And this also like just elevates the Miami Heat ceiling this season. In a weaker Eastern Conference, the Heat right now 7-4. They're currently the 3 seed. The Knicks have 1 less loss, so they're the 2 seed. Detroit just beat Washington in a thriller, so they are the 1 seed right now. But like I said, this team is without Bam right now, who's going to be back probably quicker than Tyler Hero. And then Tyler Hero. And this is also a team that sucks. I don't know what's going to happen with Terry Rozier. I expect him not to play for this team, and this team looks better without Terry Rozier. But what sucks is that's a $26 million contract you could have used at the deadline. Now, I have no idea if they're going to be able to get like a disabled player exception, like something like that when somebody gets hurt. You're seeing it with Fred VanVleet. Could they get like some type of trade exception to use to absorb a contract at the deadline, some seconds going out? It's not like they have a ton of draft capital to work with. They do own their 1st round pick this year since they gave it to the Thunder last year. In 27 next year, it's a lottery protected pick to Charlotte. Then it becomes unprotected in 28 from the aforementioned Terry Rozier trade that hasn't been great to them. But right now it's like, hey, who cares? We're good this year. We want to be aggressive, potentially at the deadline. I also didn't even mention Nikola Jovic. I actually haven't mentioned a couple guys. Like Nikola Jovic got off to like a slowish start this year. He didn't play great against Cleveland. Maybe that's why I didn't mention him. But he was really good against Portland over the weekend. By far his best game this year. He had 29 points, 6 assists, and 9 rebounds. And I was like crafting my every team's most disappointing player video, and I was going to go with Jovic, and I was like, this is bad timing. He just had like the best game. He looked comfortable out there. Still just 22 years old going forward. And I also haven't even mentioned Kasparas Shakuchonis, who was one of my favorite prospects in the 2026 draft. I thought they got a steal with him at number 20. He hasn't played at all for them this year. He was hurt to start the year. I believe he's healthy now. It's just kind of tough for him to crack the rotation at the moment, and it's only going to be tougher when Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo come back. I do think it gives them another weapon. Like, say Davion Mitchell goes down or Drew Smith, and they need another ball handler before Hero comes back. Like, yeah, they could maybe have Yakuchonis out there. I just don't really expect him to play a ton this year for the Miami Heat, which is fine going forward. Who knows if he'll be a trade piece for them at one point this season as well. But yeah, Yakuchonis and Wiggins for Jimmy Butler does not look like the worst return in the world. And they were also able to kind of finagle some money to get Davion Mitchell last year at the deadline. I don't know. The Heat are in a good spot right now. I don't want to overreact to them as well. They're first in points per game this season. Like, I did not expect the Heat's offense to look this good. So shout out Spo. Shout out Norman Powell. Shout out Jaime Jaquez. And I wonder how this team looks when Hero comes back. Like, I expect them to be just fine. I think you're adding another guy to take a little bit of the pressure off of Bam and Norman Powell when Hero comes back. Another elite shooter, somebody that moves extremely well without the ball in his hands. It's not like Hero is like a heliocentric, ball-dominant tunnel vision guy. No, Hero's actually a pretty solid playmaker. And I think this is going to benefit Hero's game as well, who we saw in the playoffs really struggles when he has this high of workload and this high of usage going forward. So the Heat are way better than I thought this year. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch going forward. They could definitely end up as a top 3 seed. Keep an eye on them at the deadline. I don't think they're going to trade for like a Anthony Davis or anybody like that, or a Lauri Markkanen, but I think there could be like a Heat culture type move, like a Davion Mitchell type move, and try to take somebody's damaged goods. I actually have a really good guy for that. Keon Ellis. Yeah, if Keon Ellis ends up on the Miami Heat, that just makes a ton of sense. And then watch him be a good player on the Miami Heat. And who knows what Sacramento's doing. I'm doing a whole video on my SROS channel about them going forward. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the Miami Heat down below. Let me know if you guys enjoyed these videos. And then I think I'm going to do like a fun video, maybe today or tomorrow. I want to rank all the team city jerseys because we now know every team city jersey for the 2026 season. Let me know if you guys want to see that as well. Let me know what you guys think about the Heat. Let me know any other team you'd like me to talk about going forward, or any specific player. Because the NBA just had an absolute amazing slate on the 10th on Monday night, where you had a game winner by Desmond Bane. You had a pretty entertaining game between the Lakers and the Hornets. Con Knipple was on triple-double watch. You had an overtime Pistons-Wizards game, which was a lot of fun. Cade shot the ball 45 times. Dennis Jenkins had a good game. CJ McCollum, Cam Whitmore had good games. We talked about the Heat game. Wemby had some clutch shots to beat the Bulls without Giddey. They won by 4. The Bucks came back and beat the Dallas Mavericks, which kind of started the Nico Harrison being let go news that happened today as well. And then the Hawks beat the Clippers, who are off to a disappointing start this year as well. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what you guys think about the Miami Heat, or anything else you want me to talk about going forward. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.